Berm Park is the free public bike park that this audience made possible. It took years for us to plan Berm Park and get everybody together to make it happen, but it was built, and now it is a success, and we gave it back to the town it lives in, Canton. In this video, you're going to see the build from start to finish. This is the site of a future NASCAR training facility. Said someone 12 years ago. That almost happened. In fact, this area was cleared and excavated in preparation, and then abandoned. Scores of would-be stock car drivers were robbed of the chance to drive Toyota Camrys in an oval. The symphony of 140 decibel exhaust pipes will never be heard by the children of Canton. The treetops of the Blue Ridge cried in unison. But life went on without that NASCAR track. And in April of 2021, we began building the next best thing here, a free community park. Thanks to a group of strangers and sponsors from all over the world, the town of Canton will soon hear the laughter of children and the whirring of bicycles. Berm Park is officially under construction, and our contractor, Elevated Trail Design, is wasting no time. They have a month of rare, dry weather before the summer rainstorms inevitably return.
It's always a treat to get to work locally and create a riding destination that kids and our friends will all get to enjoy.
Peter's goal as the designer of Berm Park is to build fun and sustainable trails. But since he's re-excavating a previously disturbed area, he also has the opportunity to control the flow of water. That may seem to some like a luxury, a way to keep the trail dry so it runs better. But actually, the future of this land and the stream below depend on it. And that was one of the key goals of the Conservancy when they purchased this land and gifted it to the town. The trails are graded to break up the flow of water. Rocks slow the water down to keep it from gaining momentum. Then catchments catch the sediment, and drain pipes direct the overflow to vegetated areas, where it can seep into the ground. Areas to the side of the riding surface are covered in this revegetation matting, which traps seeds and provides an environment for plant growth. Plants have roots, and roots hold the soil together. Despite ETD's impressive erosion control plan, we didn't name this catchment park or drain park. It's Berm Park, and you had better believe we're building berms. Really sweet ones. The 3 berms being built here are named the Hook, Line, and Sinker, after a series of hardtails made by Diamondback Bikes. They sponsored this trail, and it's called On the Fly. Like their bicycles, Diamondback's contribution will result in a trail with mass appeal. Any intermediate rider can enjoy this trail, with their tires on the ground or not. Especially on beginner and intermediate trails, we're building progressive features that you can ride at your own speed and at your own comfort level. There's always a way to be somewhere in between rolling it and sending it. This is in stark contrast to the stuff we build on Berm Peak, which is committing and not progressive at all. This is why I've been relegated to a desk job at Berm Park.
Oh, what was that?
We're leaving it to the professionals. A lot of people have asked if they can do volunteer work at Berm Park, and in fact, we will need volunteers for certain things. But to build the actual trails, it wouldn't be much help. Peter's machines have tilt couplers which allow the bucket to move just like your wrist. It takes thousands of hours to truly master this, but the result is 2 workers can do the job of 100. It's mesmerizing. And once the machine is through, all that's needed is 1 finisher to get the tread ready for bikes. As On the Fly takes shape, Peter and his crew continually sight down the trail, recheck their work, and make adjustments. As it rains, they get to correct problem areas in real time, so there are no surprises when Berm Park opens. Part of that rechecking and adjusting process is testing the trail with their own bicycles. How else could they know it's built right? This step up is pretty hard to clear right now because it needs time to harden. But Peter and his crew can still tell what adjustments it needs. As for this weird plunge that we're kind of hopping over, it's actually a landing for a future progressive bridge. These timbers are black locust, the same stuff we use for planks on Berm Peak. It's one of the most durable, rot-resistant hardwoods in the world, and there's a whole lot of it laying around here. It's perfect for building features because of its rot resistance, but you gotta admit, it looks cool too. The bridge extends from the downslope level with the ground, and then dips down to grade with the trail. Depending on your abilities, you can use as much or as little of that down ramp as you need, making it a great way to build your skills as a rider, progressively. While on the fly and this bridge were being built, the crew is also preparing a return trail. This is a mellow, rolling path that takes riders back up the hill for another lap. It's designed to be easy to climb, because all the runs at Berm Park are short. The whole point is to keep doing laps. But no matter what trail you ride, this will take you to the top, making it the most trafficked trail in the whole park. As we build longer runs down the hill, elevated trail design will add more to the climbing trail. But for now, it starts at the bottom of the now completed intermediate trail, so we can run laps on it for testing purposes. Obviously, I want to say good things about the park that I'm behind, but I think we can let this footage speak for itself. On the Fly is going to be a really popular trail, and best of all, it only takes a minute to get back to the top.
Oh yeah!
Short runs, short climbs, lots of party laps. Eric Porter and his whole family are here. They're testing out the ranger station. They're the first guests ever. And while they're here, we have to bring them up to Berm Park. Berm Park's first trail, On the Fly, is made for kids. It's made for intermediate riders. And to get the boys up there to try and work through the lines would just be amazing. Plus, the trail is sponsored by Diamondback, and Eric and I are part of Diamondback's media team. So the Porter family is gonna be here soon. Let's load everything up. right. Ooh, it's a rental.
You want to shoot out the window?
Oh. Oh. There with that hat.
So I think what would be best is we walk the trails first and just show you guys everything.
I know Milo's going to be all over those rocks on the side of the green trail.
Oh yeah. The green trail is actually super fun. And then you just get a bunch of nice humps over here.
So the Oscar Trail?
The Oscar Trail. Oscar's revenge.
Yeah. No, this thing looks fun.
So this is where it opens up, right here. Well, it's called Berm Park for a reason.
Berms are as tall as you guys.
And you have the bridge. And as you can see, the bridge can be taken one of two ways. You can keep your wheels on the ground or not. The thing is, it's running slightly slow, so you really got to juice it. Ooh. Yeah, so let's give it a shot then. So you excited to check this out? Yeah. Awesome. So I'll follow you in and we'll just feel it out. We don't have to try and clear anything and just, yeah, let's have fun. And then we'll see you guys at the bottom. Yeah! Yeah! Almost got it first shot! I saw you hit that drop for sure.
Yeah, you blasted the drop, Owen. You just sent it.
That was super cool. I mean, it's new, it's soft, there's some stuff they still gotta fix up, but it's there.
No, that is
good.
Really, really fun. Nice work.
Thank you. I'll tell Peter you said that. Sweet, let's pedal up.
On the way up, Owen say, that was so much fun.
It is. It's so much bang for your buck. Can you believe we're at the top again? This is my first time, like, actually just spending the day riding in, honestly, months. So it's amazing for me. It's good to feel out my foot and start to get used to riding the bike. Can't do a lot of the things that I used to do, but that will come back in time. In the meantime, these kids are having a freaking blast.
Me and Anna are gonna do a lot together in 10 seconds.
That's them right now. Loud and clear, we're ready.
Okay, drop it.
Look at Owen taking up the front. Yo! That is so exciting to see. I'm like, I know Elevated Trail Design built it, but I'm like standing here overlooking my creation. You know, what me and the patrons have just been waiting for 2 years. It's like the best feeling ever. So if you're not a mountain biker, if you've never mountain biked, this is a step up. And what a step up is, it's a jump where the landing is higher than where you launch off of. It's called a lip. Step ups are really forgiving and they're a great way to learn. And that's why we have one right at the end of this trail. So Eric's been following down Owen. This is kind of his first crack at the trail going full ramming speed. So I'm interested to see what he thinks. That's the difference between a pro and not a pro.
Oh my God.
Ooh, he was just creaming that.
Yeah, I think he's like 60 pounds, so he has no momentum.
Well, also the little bike and it's a hardtail, it's like,
Yeah.
You know what he should try is the green trail. It's really easy to clear those jumps and you can like trick them.
That sounds fun. We should definitely get him on that.
Seth, is there anything I should know about on this trail?
Not really. It's a green trail and so everything's rollable.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, why don't you lead it out and then you go behind Milo. Drop it in.
Oh, this is rad.
You don't even have to pedal if you have enough momentum. That was way easier, right? And what's crazy is that's the end of the trail and here's the top of the climb. Feels like you're not even climbing, you just lap it and lap it. So I'm gonna save most of that trail for another video, but yeah, that final jump section, people are gonna love learning on that because you don't have to hit any of those jumps. Jump them, you can roll them, and you guys are actually throwing whips and stuff on that. So, pretty good. You guys wanna go do a few more laps?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Dude.
So the kids they're having a blast.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't that afraid that people weren't gonna find this fun, but like it's still reassuring to see how much fun that they're actually having here because they're like our first test subjects, you know?
No, it's really, really fun. And the community here, like the kids are gonna be blown away. Normally it's like you get a community pump track or something like that, but to have like full-on bike park trails that they can just pedal up on their own is insane.
And a community pump track would be awesome too, but jumps first.
Yeah.
That's where I'm putting the money is jumps. Clickbait is the name we chose for Berm Park's longest trail, a trail being funded entirely by Patreon. Since Clickbait was crowdsourced, we figured why not make it visually impressive. This way people from around the world can enjoy it without actually riding it. That makes Clickbait a really appropriate and memorable name. And it starts with a massive wooden feature. Drop in from the trailhead through a canopy of trees, and the first thing you'll see is this wooden platform. Another trail, On the Fly, has a very similar structure which you can huck to dirt if you have enough speed. The down ramp provides a progressive safety net, and this new drop has the same design, but just way bigger, and it sets the stage for the rest of the trail. Because of its length and black diamond designation, Clickbait will give you a lot of opportunities to catch some air. Although these are all tabletops, they're very much similar in size to what you'd find on a trail like A-Line. And while other trails at Berm Park get you acquainted with features like berms, drops, tables, and step-ups, Clickbait ties it all together. And at the request of the patrons, Clickbait also pays homage to Berm Peak. The auger attachment on this excavator makes quick work of giant post holes, which will locate the supports for this structure. See if you can guess what we're building here. In my travels, I've only seen this feature a handful of times. It's called an up box, and this is a truly massive one. Berm Peak also has an up box, but we call it the pucker pad. Basically, you come in with as much speed as possible, launch onto the pucker pad, and skip off of it to clear a gap onto the landing. It's a huge commitment and very scary, In fact, nothing about the pucker pad is safe or intuitive. On the contrary, the upbox on Clickbait is not scary at all. In fact, its large size makes it easier. There's also a beeline to go around the upbox altogether, but that doesn't make it any less fun. For many riders, this will be the only place they ever see an upbox in person, so we wanted to make it as accessible as possible for newcomers. The rest of Clickbait Trail is more of the same. Lots of tabletops, steezy hips, and even an on-off bridge later on in the trail. While the guys are finishing up Clickbait Trail, let's go back up top and check on another trail, High Roller. This green trail starts in a flat area, with a series of progressive rock and wood features to practice on. Then it drops into a section of rollers, rather high rollers. While these are in fact rollers, they can be cleared with sufficient speed. They're much smaller, mellower versions of the tabletops on Clickbait, but High Roller and Clickbait have something in common. They were both paid for by Patreon, sort of. One single patron, Drawer, donated the funds to build High Roller. Drawer credits this community for getting more serious about mountain biking, and now he's paying it forward. If you can go from rolling this trail to boosting it, you can then step up to the intermediate features on the fly. Progressively, you can then build the skill set to ride Clickbait. But not before Elevated Trail Design tests it, to make sure all the trajectories work as calculated. While it's always awesome watching these guys test their work, we still need to do a lap on behalf of the customers. Clickbait starts with the drop, followed by a chicane and a table, which sets you up for the upbox. Off the landing of the upbox, you have plenty of speed for two large tabletops, followed by a big roller and a step up to the on-off. Then a pack of lippy tabletops followed by a step-up finale, which was not yet complete at the time of this recording. It's gonna be nice when this step-up is done. Unlike actual Clickbait, there's nothing misleading about this trail. The sight lines are great, the landings give you generous space, and unlike a video that clickbaited you, you'll want to ride it again and again. We took a vote on Patreon, and it looks like we're naming the drop the Rickroll, which is a pretty genius name for a rollable drop on a trail called Clickbait. As for the upbox, it seems like upvote has a clear lead as of this time. Berm Park is currently dormant, and if you couldn't tell, it's probably not all that rideable right now. But this spring, it's going to be a very different story, because we finally have a grand opening date. April 23rd, 2022. You don't need to sign up, you don't need to register, it's a free public park. That means that after grand opening, you can just show up with your bike and ride it. Best of all, I've got more to show you today. In the last video, we rode Clickbait Trail. This is the longest trail at Berm Park and was paid for entirely by members of this audience on Patreon. Clickbait is rated a black diamond due to its speed and amplitude, and it has some pretty impressive wooden features. This will make it a very popular trail, sure to be shared on social media a lot, hence the name clickbait. But for a certain subset of riders, we built something extra. When you get near the end of clickbait, there's this wooden on-off bridge. That's where the split happens. You can continue over the bridge and ride the last few tabletops on clickbait, or you can make a right and roll the dice. That's the name of Berm Park's Double Black Diamond Trail, and it was paid for by Competitive Cyclist. Having been a partner of this channel now for quite some time, Competitive Cyclist was on board with Berm Park almost immediately. Everyone who works there rides bikes. Between Competitive Cyclist, Elevated Trail Design, and myself, we came up with a relatively short run that packs a big punch. Let's start off with the wall rides. Now, we've built a couple of wall rides on this channel, and you may have noticed that I always approach from the right and ride left. Even on my wooden berm, I do this. And it's no coincidence that they were all built this way, because left is my dominant direction. Just like you might have a hand you prefer to write with, riders develop a dominant direction. They'll shred berms better in that direction, spin in that direction, and have a dominant foot they like keeping forward while coasting. While I do let this bias bleed through on my own trails, Berm Park is for everyone. So we built 2 wall rides, one in each direction. Now with a little practice, you can learn to ride both ways. But if you don't, you can just ride around the wall you aren't comfortable with and send the other one as far as you want. Pretty merciful for a double black diamond, but we're not out to prove anything except that people like fun trails. Each wall ride has plenty of space on it so you can ride as high or low as you please, and a nice forgiving landing so you can come up short or send it deep. Connecting the 2 wall rides are 2 very satisfying berms, with a nice hump in the middle so you can pump, scrub, or pedal, depending on who you're trying to keep up with. When we were testing the trail, it was possible to start pedaling from the on-off bridge, which of course would be a very bad idea when the trail is actually open. But my point is, you don't need much speed to hit the first wall ride. Still, as features come, wall rides require a healthy dose of bike wrangling, so we wanted to make the next feature effortless. Enter the cannon. Some people call it something else. This one's awesome. It literally shoots you out of the woods, and viewed from the climbing trail, that's exactly what it looks like. You don't need all that much speed for the cannon, and because it's a step down, it gives you back tons of speed for the 2 tables that come after it. That's 5 hits in one short section of trail. And indeed, it ends lower on the climbing road than any other trail in the park. If you want to ride the longest run at Berm Park, it's clickbait into roll the dice. Let's see what that looks like. Berm Park opens in less than a month, and so a lot is happening between now and then. Everything kinda sat there in the winter getting rained and snowed on, so the trails are getting buffed out and finalized for the grand opening. I'm working on a what to expect video for anyone visiting. In the meantime, we're installing these trailhead repair stations in a few locations around the park, and I'm going to show you how we do that. The stations were provided by Park Tool Company, the maker of these blue-handled bike tools you probably see everywhere, including my shop. Park Tool Company sponsored the green trail at Berm Park, which is a super easy loop with little bridges and rollers, suitable for beginners, and of course, kids whose parents managed to drag them up there. The trail is called Chain Whip, and it runs in a continuous loop right at the trailhead. Here to help me install these trailhead repair stations are YouTube celebrities Calvin and Truman. You might recognize them.
All of this to retain the chain. It didn't matter how much it was slapping, it would be retained on the front, and when they start pedaling, it would be power transfer.
Before we can install these repair stations, we need to pour footings to mount to. So for starters, we're copying the bolt pattern of the repair stand base onto a piece of sheet metal. This will serve as a template. So as long as we line up the bolt holes here,
That's the concept.
we're calling it the THS-T. See if you can guess what that stands for. From here, we need to haul a bunch of tools, concrete mix, sonotubes, and water up to Berm Park so we can end the day with something to mount these stations to. If we put it anywhere out there, there's no more trails back that way. There's not going to be people riding by really fast. After deliberating on the exact location of each stand, we clear away the topsoil and bust out that auger I showed you last week. So with my particular auger, I don't know how much luck we'd have with pot rock or roots, but this looks like it was excavated at some point, so it should be a pretty easy drill.
Oh man, hurts like a kid. Not too bad.
So you may be surprised to discover that the 8-inch auger is perfect for an 8-inch sonotube. Now, sonotube is actually a name brand, but it's like the Kleenex of cylindrical concrete forms. You put one of these forms where you want your footing, backfill it, and then fill it with concrete. You're then left with a perfect appearance-grade footing to build on. I usually just pour concrete mix in a hole and poke at it with a stick, but this is kind of important, so we're mixing it up proper. We're using gasoline because it leaves a nice finish and evaporates quickly. Just kidding. This is water, and these new 5-gallon cans will eventually be used for fuel once they dry out.
So this piece here is squared, same as the base of the trailhead station, that are gonna go inside quickcrete.
So we're gonna let it set up, and then when it gets a little bit more firm, we're gonna push those bolts in there and get them lined up so that tomorrow we can come back with the trailhead repair station, just bolt them down. Now the trick here is to wait for the mix to just start setting, and then line up the bolts for mounting. This is where the THS-T comes in. The mix hardens around the bolts, and then we can reuse the template for the next footing. This is about all we can do today since the concrete needs to fully set before we can bolt anything down to it. Knowing there'd be little to do after pouring the footings, we came prepared. So now we're gonna go for a ride, try and beat the clock, try and find a place that will still sell us some food before they close. When I visited Park Tool a few summers ago, these guys showed me all around. So it was great to be able to return the favor, and we even finished in time to find some really good food.
This place is crazy.
Today, we'll actually install the repair stations, but one of them is custom made to be a lot shorter than the others so kids can reach it. We're setting it up with real bike tools as well as a few others just to make it fun. And to make it clear that this stand is a little bit different from the other ones, I'm making a custom label for it. We're also adding some camera mounts to the stand, so people can use it to make memories.
Custom short upright.
So that's the shorter one.
This is a shorter one. And let's see if it fits. All our work yesterday comes through.
Hey, that ain't bad. The cardboard forms kind of soak with water and just fall off, leaving a nice footing with bolts sticking out the top. And thanks to our template, the base is lined right up. This is the stand we mounted lower for kids. This should be at the right height for anything up to a 24-inch wheel, and parents can mount their action camera or phone to the stand to get a time-lapse or video of their kid enjoying it. It's kind of gimmicky, but the stand itself is anything but. I think kids are going to have a lot of fun with this. So let's have a closer look at these bike repair stations, starting with the setup. We'll address what everybody's already thinking. I can read your minds. There's this plate here, and on the plate there are these little kind of fingers sticking out. That's where you put the tools, and you actually get to choose where the tools go. And if you want to switch it out for a different tool, you can just get a little crimp from the hardware store and it's going to work. But of course, these stands come with a bunch of tools that you might need at the bike park, minus the tools that you could use to take the stand apart. Doesn't have those. These two bike grip looking thingies are where you hang your bike from to work on it, to get the wheels off the ground so you can pedal it and everything. And you put it up there like this, derailleur side out. And so the front of your bike is always gonna be over here, and the back of your bike's always gonna be over here. Tools that you would normally use at the front of the bike should be on this side of the stand, and vice versa. At a bike park, you take a little spill, your handlebars move, you're gonna need Allen keys up at the front most of the time. We take our multi-tool, and we'll hang it way up here at the front. Pedal wrench, that's probably closer to the back of the bike, so we'll put it on this side. Phillips head screwdriver, unless you're taking off reflectors, you're using this to adjust the limit screws on a derailleur, and so we will put this at the back. So Torx, actually a lot of SRAM stuff has Torx up at the front, T25, and so we'll put it up near the front. So now all of our tools are organized how we want them. They were. Cover goes up here with some security screws. Now, like I said, this is held on with security bolts, and none of the tools on the stand can be used to disassemble it, right? They thought that through. Let's say there was a greenway in a city. Stuff is gonna get stolen, right? Even if it doesn't get stolen the first few months, some idiot's gonna come by with a diagonal cutter and cut one of these off. If you climb this mountain with a pair of diagonal cutters to steal used bike tools that have been sitting out in the rain, you are truly depraved. And if somebody catches you doing it, by the way, around here, they're not gonna be happy with you at all. Think twice before you do that. So the location is extremely important. I put an entire shop worth of tools at the ranger station, and guests could easily walk away with them and I'd have very little idea who did it. But nobody steals tools at the ranger station. If instead of the ranger station I put these tools in, let's say, Central Park, they'd walk away pretty quickly. So location is kind of important. I have no doubt that someday Berm Park will suffer the loss of a rusty tire lever or screwdriver, and you can rest assured that the thief will receive no attention for it. The other 99.9% of the time, visitors can rely on these stations to straighten out their bars or tighten something that shook loose during their run. We'll be adding an outdoor pump to the trailhead too, so you'll pretty much be able to leave all your stuff at the car and ride worry-free. That's the idea. Elevated Trail Design is back on site, buffing out all the trails for Saturday. Because the opening was postponed in the fall, none of the trails got ridden in. That's important. Hard braking and skidding can damage a mountain bike trail, but just riding it smoothly can actually pack it down and make it stronger. So after these guys are finished, it's up to you guys to ride these trails in. But it's not only Berm Park's trails that will be getting ridden in on opening day. See, this entire space is called Chestnut Mountain Nature Park. That's what you'll search for in Google to get here, and that's what you'll see in the parking lot when you pull up. To actually get to the section we know as Berm Park, you'll need to climb up this trail from the parking lot. Papertown Express isn't part of Berm Park, but it does lead there. When the rest of Chestnut Mountain Nature Park is finished, hikers, campers, and all park users will ascend this multi-use trail to get off the highway and into the woods. Today I recorded my ride up Papertown Express, so you'll have a better idea of what to expect. Okay, so keep in mind, I am not known for climbing fast, and this only took me 12 minutes. Total distance was 0.8 miles, and the elevation gain was 305 feet. So in other words, it's no big deal, but I wouldn't want to drag a cooler or bike trailer up Papertown without some help. Once you reach the end, you're at Berm Park's trailhead. The flight deck has plenty of space to hang out. You already know about the bike repair stations and this incredible metal sculpture, complete with bike sleds for photo ops. Local supplier French Broadstone even donated these benches so you can take a break between laps. A lot of work went into this trailhead, and the name Flight Deck is a nod to Berm Peak, but also the company that sponsored this area, Athletic Brewing. They're a brewer of craft non-alcoholic beer, and Berm Park is the least of what they've supported. In fact, Athletic Brewing donated over $1.3 million to human-powered recreation last year, and they're on track to blow those numbers away in 2022. We expect visitors to spend as much time on the flight deck as they do anywhere in Berm Park, so we're glad we had the support to do it to the max. On opening day, you'll see even more details up here, including a gorgeous trail map. Not that you'll really need it. All of Berm Park's trails start at the flight deck and end on a single return trail that leads to the flight deck, so you automatically won't get lost. Speaking of trails, what trail should you ride? For beginners or young kids, you can start here on Chain Whip. Chain Whip is a rolling loop suitable for any skill level. You can practice holding your line on these skinny bridges, and even try pedaling through some chunk in a controlled setting. If you're looking for something a little spicier, try riding High Roller. This trail starts out with a few optional progressive features, and then drops into a short downhill with deep rollers and berms. It's super fun, and more experienced riders will have no problem clearing these rollers altogether. If you're ready for some more speed, you'll want to ride On the Fly. On the Fly starts with a little pump section for building speed, then leads into these 3 big bike park style berms. After that, there's a wooden bridge feature that becomes a drop if you ride it fast enough. You'll pick up more speed from there into a berm and a step up. This step up is sizable, but very forgiving on the back end, so you can take this as short or as far as you feel comfortable. Now, if you're already a seasoned park rat, you're going to want to check out Clickbait Trail. Donors on Patreon chose Clickbait as the name, to give a nod towards this park's internet crowdfunded origins, and so we wanted to make it count. Clickbait has a lot of wooden features, long tabletops, an up box, and a step-up jump that'll show you after opening day. Now, because we wanted something for everyone at Berm Park, there's more. To get to this next trail, you need to ride the first part of Clickbait, and then make a right after the on-off bridge. Welcome to Roll the Dice. This is Berm Park's most advanced trail, which contains not 1, but 2 wall rides, a sweet cannon, and more tabletops. Now, these trails are short, fun, and easy to take laps on, but at some point you're gonna get tired or hungry. To get back to your car, there's a trail. It's called Bear Country, and it goes all the way down to the parking lot. Bear Country is a bikes-only, one-way downhill trail which is part of Chestnut Mountain Nature Park. And although its sole purpose is to channel bikes back down the mountain, it's seriously fun. So all that climbing you did on Papertown Express, you'll get rewarded for it at the end of your ride. Now, as I said, this trail is downhill bikes only. So if you're leaving the park on foot, just go back down Papertown Express. That's a multi-directional trail used for all of Chestnut Mountain, and we didn't want bikes going down it for what should be obvious reasons.
Thrill seekers have a new place to get their adrenaline fix in Canton. Berm Park is the brainchild of Seth Alvo, a widely known YouTube creator in the mountain biking world. The gist is it offers a specific, dedicated space for the two-wheeler enthusiast. Everyone that doesn't want
2 years ago, this area was essentially an abandoned construction site. There were talks of it becoming a housing development and even a rock quarry. But thanks to conservationists, private companies, a very willing town, passionate trail builders, and most of all, members of this audience, Berm Park and Chestnut Mountain are now open to the public. Berm Park is just the first phase of a much larger project encompassing all of Chestnut Mountain. And by nestling Berm Park within a larger park, we were able to put all of our resources into trails and features, while the town of Canton took care of the parking lot, as well as trails in and out of the park. They also ensured that grand opening day would be a celebration to remember. Thousands of you came out from every corner of the country and even abroad. And you came armed with money. Anyone selling anything at grand opening either ran out of it or came close. And I know of 2 food establishments in Canton that sold out of menu items by mid-afternoon. I've been trying to tell everyone this is how mountain bikers say thanks for having us. And that was just the scene on the first floor. Holy crap, dude, you made it. I can't wait to show you this. I want to climb up together. I want to show you this.
I'm down. I won't even do it until I can go with you.
Climbing up to Berm Park, there was a healthy mix of mountain bikers and pedestrians looking to see what was up there.
My other bike broke.
Before even dropping into a trail, the flight deck is impressive. I got sticker shocked when I saw the invoice for the signs, but in person, they're pretty worth it. They make Berm Park more memorable, more impressive, and more fun. And I'll have you know, they weren't easy to hang. Because the signs are powder coated, flexing them too much could crack the paint. And because they look sick, putting a dent or scratch in the surface would just break your heart. And so Elevated Trail Design needed all hands on deck to transport these signs safely and hang them without any mishaps. I might be a little biased when I say this trailhead is world class, and the trails themselves have just the mass appeal we were hoping for. That morning, Canton's mayor told me, "Those trails look like something out of Sonic the Hedgehog." He's not wrong. One of the things we wanted for Berm Park were bike park features that you don't see every day, at least outside of Green Hill Zone. Berm Park has several drops, an on-off bridge, an up box, 2 wall rides, and a cannon. This in addition to many bonus skinnies and rock features off to the side. For many visitors, these were new and exciting experiences, but no experience compared to the stress test we gave on the fly. We had about 17 million people on a train on the fly. April, then you, then me, and then everybody who wants to ride on the fly.
We have a posse.
They're so fun! Woo-hoo! It was really cool to see Kyle and April at Berm Park, but it was even cooler to see Kyle manual the upbox on clickbait. This is just nuts, man. Also really cool was seeing Owen ride Clickbait Trail. The little dude just stepped up to a full-sized bike, and now he's getting serious airtime.
I almost blew that one.
What amazed me about grand opening weekend was how many people were riding Berm Park's most advanced features. There's not a whole lot of this stuff here, so those riders came out in droves to get their taste of it. There were also a healthy amount of families and kids. In fact, I'd say over half the visitors were part of families arriving together. WLOS did a piece on Berm Park that night, and it ended with a shot of this guy, which is exactly what the general public imagines when they think of a bike park. And while bike parks are absolutely for him, they're also for them. And them. And while so many forward-thinking municipalities already know this, I'm so very happy we have another example to help prove their case. We have so much ground to cover on the topic of Berm Park. What did I learn from this? What was really happening behind the scenes? How has this affected the town of Canton? How can you use Berm Park as a case study to make the same thing happen in your town? Once the dust settles, we'll cover all of this in detail. Now we need to maintain it, study its effects on the town, the community. This is an ongoing story.
Just getting bombarded with positivity right now. All these people are having a blast. They're loving the trails, busting laps on clickbait. This is everything we had hoped for.
Right now, I'm getting lots of emails from companies offering to help on the next project, whatever that is. And that's awesome. But these companies went in blind, not knowing if we would pull this off. Now they're looking pretty smart. My friend Dror sponsored an entire trail without any description of what we would build. The town of Canton went out on a limb and partnered with a crazy YouTuber. The Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy rescued this property from certain doom, and it was the first time they had ever partnered with mountain bikers. Elevated Trail Design was hired to build these trails, but they also spent countless hours working with the Conservancy on water management and juggling their schedule around the weather. They went above and beyond. And from where I sit, I owe the biggest thanks to all of you who donated to make Berm Park a reality. Even those of you who didn't or couldn't donate still gave me the influence to do this. And considering many of you will never see Berm Park in person, you have restored my faith in humanity. People usually regard rain and moisture as bad for trails. That's actually not the case. You need a little bit to hold things together. If it didn't rain too much up there, we should have kind of all-time hero dirt. Let's see what it looks like.
So who do we have here? You came all the way out from Bellingham.
Pacific Northwest, yeah.
Got a couple hours, so I'm excited to show you around.
I'm very excited to see this place and to ride with you, Seth.
So yeah, we'll get up there and see what you feel like manually.
Our riding backgrounds are somewhat similar.
What's your background?
I grew up racing BMX.
So I have no racing background, but I do have a BMX, like a street BMX background. My friend, when I announced that I was gonna be building Berm Park, he said, I got 25,000 on it.
Sweet.
And so he's kind of a high roller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost everybody I've ridden with here has asked about the two rollers on the fly before the first berm. They said, has anybody ever doubled that? It's pretty sizable. It comes right out of a turn, so it's all about trying to get the speed for it. And Jeff seems like he really wants to try it.
It's not like super far, but the hardest part is there's a left turn just in front of this roller, and that left turn's not highly banked. My back tire broke traction slightly coming through this left. I just tried putting my shock in a middle position for the compression damping. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of speed. You were pulling about as hard as somebody could pull, so.
And I got a pedal stroke in before it. But I could probably put down some more pepper in that pedal stroke.
I have yet to see somebody
Cleanly clear it?
I have yet to see anybody try, but then again, I actually don't get out here as much as you might think.
It's probably already been done. Someone's already tobogganed it and done something super sweet, and that's how she goes.
I wouldn't be too sure, but if you have, better have proof.
It's a cool challenge. It's not too sketchy.
Getting deeper into that knuckle is just... Conditions would have to be perfect, and you would have to be cooking around that turn.
I tried to make it sound like I wasn't casing. If I had my other pants, I probably would have got it.
Yeah.
One of those
next time. So you want to check out clickbait? You haven't seen clickbait yet? Yeah, let's go hit it. I've never followed anybody into clickbait who's never ridden it before or didn't walk it. It'd be interesting to see if you could clean it. I think if I give you a little intel on the first part, you'll be able to.
Okay.
Just go into the chicane as straight as possible and just hop over the backside and hit the jump. That's the only tricky part. A lot of people hit the first berm and they try and like slap both berms and then they blow the first jump.
Yeah, let's go for it?
Yeah. Oh, I've never seen anybody try that. Oh, yeah! Woo! You got some boost on you, man. Riding a trail like that blind isn't for everyone, and you can see why. That could have gone bad, but it was my stupid idea, and Jeff pulled it off.
Now I know what to expect. I think this will be a little bit smoother. I want to try that double at the beginning into the trail off the rock. It's small, it's safe, and it's weird and hard.
Whoa! So we did a couple of fun runs through clickbait. Now we're gonna go to roll the dice. And Jeff, you got some ideas for that wall ride, huh?
I don't want to say anything. I want to check this out and try it, because if it'll work, it'll work. It'll be sweet. But if it won't work, I'll feel like I put my foot in my mouth.
You kind of made it look too easy. Can't you like look a little bit more scared or something?
I was terrified.
So there's one more trail here you haven't seen, and that is Bear Country. The town got the funding to build a dedicated trail just for mountain bikers down to the parking lot, and it's super fun. So let's hit it. I can't believe I pulled out of that. No Berm Park trip is complete.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for meeting up, Jeff. Good to meet you. Yeah, you guys have a good time at the candy store. All right. So I've met Jeff probably 3 or 4 times, and we never got to make a video together because we were always at an event, and so it was really good that he came for a little ride at Berm Park. But now I'm back here letting my sandwich digest, and there's only one other car in the parking lot, and I told these 2 guys I'd ride up with them and show them the park. So gonna get to experience this kind of like a civilian in a quiet setting. So once you're up here, the laps are super quick. It's a closed loop. Yeah, it's
never got that much air before.
It's actually like real jumps. Those guys I met before, they're riding Berm Park, and the rest of the place is completely empty. School is still in session. It's too early for people to be going on a ride after work, and it's a Monday, which is probably the deadest day of the week. And so little does everybody know I'm up here all by myself. So I talked a little bit about the trails getting ridden in, burned in. When people ride the trails, the ride line in the center gets compacted and they're looking really good. They're looking better than they did on day one. Let's go over to high roller. So you can see that little patch in the middle that's super duper smooth. I mean, it's like butter. On the fly is a little bit different because most of it's way out in the sun. And so it really gets baked. So when they first laid down these trails, there were certain jumps that I could barely clear, like the step up on the fly. Now that the trails are burned in, you just fly over everything effortlessly. It's really about the surface, the speed. The lips are just like rockets. Burned in trails are great. So on the topic of the condition of Berm Park, people have asked, what can I do to help? How can I help Berm Park? Patreon has the first year of maintenance totally covered. By year 2, I think we'll have something a little bit more sustainable in place where we don't have to rely as much on Patreon funds. But for the time being, there are a few things you can do when you're at Berm Park if you want to help. First of all, if you see deadfall or debris anywhere, just throw it into the bushes or pull off to the side of the trail safely and just toss it. Second, you can untangle the bike repair stations. The bike repair stations definitely get tangled up. If you want to do something, if you want to give your kids something to do so they feel useful, untangling the bike repair stations is actually helpful and gives the park a nice clean look. So the other thing you can do is really important. If you see something, say something. Whoa! Whoa! We need to talk about this. Berm Park is a new concept in this general area and it's very, very accessible. And so there's gonna be a lot of people visiting who have never visited a bike park before. They might be thinking, well, if you're coming down the trail and there's somebody standing there, why don't you stop? By the time I noticed that individual standing on the up box, it was too late to make a decision, and I certainly didn't think that there was gonna be a bike on the landing. So the only way this is gonna work is word of mouth. If you're there with kids, explain it to them. If you're there with your friend who's never been to a bike park, explain it to them. And if you are anywhere near the trail, the most important thing to remember is that the bike rider has the right of way. We don't want people getting hurt here at Berm Park. It's a really bad look, and just people getting hurt equals bad. And if you want to support Berm Park in the most direct way possible, sign up for my Patreon page. All the money goes back to the mountain bike community. This year, it's going to go to maintaining Berm Park. Any additional funds we have are going to go to improving Berm Park, making future alterations to the trails, and hopefully creating other things in the mountain bike community if we have enough. We're already starting to see the community progress in a matter of weeks, and it's awesome to see.
I just kept casing that step up, casing, and then I was like, I'm just gonna come out here and hammer this, and I did. When I finally cleared it, I was like, my God, what? It was so easy, but it's the intimidation factor of that extra 5 miles per hour to get over it.
Yeah! But you learn that through repetition. Nobody even has to explain it. You just figure it out. This has been really cool. I've been here for most of the day, but time to get home, so I'm gonna get on Bear Country, which is one of my favorite trails here, head back down to the parking lot. Now that the park is open, daily maintenance is done by Kevin using funds from Patreon. He's been doing it pretty much by himself and with the help of a few small machines. This summer we even had some really bad storms and he's been keeping the place running really smooth. And it's been a really efficient use of funds. Now patrons are not supporting the maintenance of Berm Park indefinitely, but they will at least through the spring while we get everything in place. But while we've been focused on Berm Park, elevated trail design has been 1,000 feet above Berm Park, building new trails on Chestnut Mountain. This new backcountry trailhead is already open to hikers and bikers, and next month a new bike trail called Lady Bird is opening with almost 2 miles of downhill. Lady Bird is one of just a few trails being added to Chestnut Mountain this year. Some will be for hikers only, some for bikers, and some multi-use, like Turnpike Trail, which is a lollipop that's open right now. And while we didn't organize or fund any of the new backcountry trails, you could argue that Berm Park helped accelerate this project as a whole.
So only half a year since opening, Berm Park now sits inside of a growing trail system in a town that benefits from its existence. This is the best outcome we could have possibly hoped for, but back in 2018, we were still trying to figure out what this place was gonna be. The day I first walked the property, it was with Nick from the town of Canton and Hani from the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy.
450 acres on a wildlife corridor is something that you pay attention to. You can buy one tract that's really efficient from a land conservation perspective and protects more habitat. And we thought, could this be a place where conservation and recreation can really work together?
It felt like something that, we hoped would happen, but lots of things to work through in order to get to this point where we're at now.
Were the three of us to work together on this project, we'd need to understand each other's goals.
We don't usually hold land for public parks. We're not staffed with the resources, so usually we have to transfer it to a public entity. Because it sat a mile from the town of Canton was the natural fit.
In this case, the SAHC would buy the Chestnut Mountain property with funds from their own donors and a $1.2 million grant from North Carolina Clean Water. We would be responsible for building the skills park, you already know that, and the town of Canton would kind of be responsible for everything else, like the parking lot, the infrastructure, and making the place a public park. Now, it should be pretty obvious how this benefited Canton. They were getting a park in their town, and we got awesome land to build a bike park on. But the SAHC had conservation goals in mind. Those aren't just their goals, but also the goals of their donors and the terms of that $1.2 million grant that they got.
Any use on the property would have to be consistent with a conservation ethic. We tried to keep an open mind about what that experience would be.
Chestnut Mountain's an important wildlife corridor. It's a watershed. But from past projects, it had also been logged, it had been partially excavated, and so not all of the property was completely pristine.
This property, all the topsoil was removed. It was very disturbed and it was graded. I think this is a great example of how you can repair things.
By building the bike park in the most disturbed area on the property, we could actually make a bike park a conservation project.
We were cautious about the mountain biking component. We wanted to do our due diligence. How many miles of trails would be too impactful, or what would the trails look like? And then it was also a learning process with the trail designer to learn style of design that would create potentially old logging road to trail conversions, and how existing issues on the property could be repaired by putting in new trails.
Now, a project like this can only happen when all the stakeholders are willing to be flexible. Originally, I wanted to build Berm Park right next to the parking lot so people could just jump out of their cars and start riding. But patience prevailed, and it turned out that the other stakeholders really had our backs. Canton was able to secure a grant, and they built a down trail from the park called Bear Country. Now, anybody that's been to Berm Park knows about Bear Country. It's extremely fun. It's a great way to get back down to the parking lot, and originally that wasn't in the plans. And so now that payment you make to get into the park, you get it all back on a bike-specific trail. But being able to make decisions like these before construction begins requires planning. In this case, a master plan.
A master plan is taking all these good ideas and the community input and putting it through a funnel, seeing what's right for this specific property.
It wasn't until we brought in an elevated trail design and Equinox and did the master plan that we were really able to understand the capabilities of the mountain.
We got hired by the town of Canton to create a trail master plan and to design Berm Park. Explore all of the property on foot, explore all of the maps, every resource we have, and design a trail system.
If you're trying to get several parties or even the public on board with your crazy idea, you had better be able to answer some questions about it.
What's going to be here? How will that be maintained? What's the budget?
We were able to partner with Equinox. Anytime we can partner with a planning firm, we're able to make sure that the master plan is not just about the trails, but everything from parking, how are people going to get to the park.
So if you're trying to get a bike park or trail system built, the first thing you should focus on is having a contractor prepare a master plan. It costs money and it's worth it. That's not to say you can't prepare a master plan yourself, but it better be good if you want a municipality or land trust to take you seriously. Now, while all this was going on, I was staying pretty quiet It was over 2 years into the process by the time I made an announcement on YouTube. And by that time, we had altered the timeline and the overall plan several times. So if I had gone and opened my beak sooner and blabbed to everybody about the park, it would have looked really bad every time we made changes to the timeline or changes to the design. Having 5 different versions of the plan kind of floating around the internet indefinitely would have been pretty confusing. But I was also keeping quiet about Berm Park because I didn't really know who was going to be paying for it yet. Now, it's true that I did have tons of funds from Patreon to get the project started, but I kind of needed like another $150,000, and I was pretty sure I could get those from sponsors, but it turns out that sponsors won't give you money unless you can provide proof that something is actually happening. So to get contractors, materials, and a start date, I needed to sign contracts, but to make payments on those contracts, I needed funds. And to get funds, I needed signed contracts. Consider a Roman archway. It's really strong if everything's in place, but you can't assemble the freaking thing because individual blocks won't stand on their own. So you need to support the archway while it's being constructed. So I was signing contracts guaranteeing they would be paid before we had any sponsors on board. It was really scary, but this time when I approached sponsors, they were joining a project that already had a start date, that was already well funded. It was happening. And as each sponsor came on board, the archway was able to support itself, and I wasn't standing under it. And from there, the rest of the process was a whole lot less scary. It was funded. We had a professional trail contractor building for us. Stuff was happening every day, and all I had to do was what I was used to, making videos. And from there, you know what happened. Berm Park was built, grand opening was a massive success, and since then the parking lot has been packed with cars. People are using the place and loving it.
Yeah, I could have a major water or sewer line break in Canton and it could cost us, $750,000, $1 million, and total build out will be under that number for 18 plus miles of trails.
So now that Berm Park is open and I've had some time to reflect on the entire process, I view every public park or trail system through a different lens. I have a way bigger appreciation for everything that might have gone into making it happen. And I also view something else through a different lens, and that would be exotic cars. Hear me out. Berm Park costed $250,000. That's like an entry-level exotic car, and people are driving these things around everywhere. Now, some people are passionate, they're enthusiasts, I get that, but a lot of them just want to do something that's impressive. They just want to show off. And so ask yourself this, what's more impressive, an exotic car or a park named after you? Not only does a park cost less than an exotic car, not only is it more fun, but it might even require less maintenance. Now, there are hundreds of other tiny lessons I learned through this process, but those are the ones that really stuck with me. Understand and respect the goals of the other stakeholders. Get a master plan like immediately, as soon as possible, whatever it costs, get a master plan. I learned that obtaining funding is much easier when you already have the funds. I'm not really sure what to do with that one. And it's way easier to build on top of an archway than to build the archway itself. Now that Berm Park is built, there's all sorts of stuff popping up around it.
Having this project incubate the larger project was pretty providential and cool.
The trails at Chestnut Mountain are being opened in phases, and the conservation easement restrictions are kind of watching how these trails are developed and maintained over time.
Thank you to everybody who supported Berm Park, and thanks to all of you who watch this channel for giving me the influence to be able to even do things like this. And so that's the story of Berm Park up until this moment. It's ongoing. It's a free park that you could visit to this day, and it serves as an example of what you can do when everybody gets together on the internet and agrees on something. I hope you enjoyed watching Berm Park get built from start to finish. I hope you enjoyed all the rides there, and I hope you learned something in this video, and if you didn't, I hope you at least found it entertaining. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.